We're going to look at bills that answer a couple of questions. Should law enforcement collect DNA samples from individuals arrested for certain serious violent felonies? And should Georgia regulate ketamine clinics? To explore those issues and more, joining us is Republican Senator Rick Williams of Milledgeville, the chairman of the Senate Retirement Committee, the vice chair of the Ethics Committee, the secretary of both the Public Safety and Regulated Industries and Utilities Committees. Also with us is Republican Representative Sharon Cooper of Marietta. She chairs the Publicity Community Health Committee, and she's also on Judicial Non-Civil and a special committee on health care. These are very busy lawmakers. Welcome back. This is the first time this session you both have been here, so I appreciate this. So Chairman Williams, right now, DNA in Georgia is typically collected after someone is convicted of a felony. Your bill, SB 29, would allow DNA collection when someone is arrested for a serious felony. So tell us what is behind your wanting to even do this.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on here tonight. It all started about 10 years ago with my neighbor, a gentleman by the name of Todd Crosby, who was a crime scene specialist for the GBI. We were talking about people not being identified when they find a body that's been decomposed and abandoned. They couldn't figure out who they were. And then he got to talking about, and I heard a word called CODIS. Well, what is CODIS? Well, CODIS is the national database for DNA. This is where all of the states send DNA and it's stored in a database so it can be there to match or run like the National Fingerprint Database. So yes, in Georgia, now they only take DNA when someone is convicted and when they're going to prison. My bill, would be taking DNA when someone is arrested and accused of committing one of the 7 deadly sins. Okay. And so it's not something that would be done all the time, but if they're exonerated or found not guilty, then their DNA is expunged from the CODIS. So that's built into it also. So that's what that is. And, you know,
you brought props for us.
I'm sorry?
You brought some props.
I did. I brought some props. And, you know, one of the questions has been, how much is this going to cost? Well, the DNA kit, $1.44 plus postage.
So what's in it?
So this would be perhaps what a DNA kit would look like. First, you would have the swab. And we were all familiar with these swabs during COVID, that these things stuck to the back of our brains, but this is very simple. It just goes in the mouth, just a simple swab, then it would go into the Ziploc bag and sealed up. On the Ziploc bag would be the offender's name, their social security number, their date, and which sheriff's office or arresting agency actually did the swab. And then it would go into a mailer. Okay. This is something that would be furnished by the state of Georgia, postage paid, and very simple. And you know, they've talked about, well, we've got to be trained on this. Well, here it is. It's just done. And that it's just a sample of what it could be.
So because it applies to the arrest stage, talk about that a little bit before someone is convicted. There are people who worry about due process and also whether or not their DNA gets out there if the charges are dropped.
Well, first of all, this DNA is not like Ancestry. It's not like family tree DNA. This is not like 23andMe. This doesn't tell if you're a male, female, if you have blue eyes or anything like that. What this does, and you can see at Ashley Spence, who is the director of this, you can see the numbers down at the bottom of her card. That is her DNA profile. And so it doesn't tell anything personal about her at all. but it just is a DNA profile that matches and is on particular to that one person.
So tell us who Ashley Spence is.
Ashley Spence is the director of DNA Justice Project.
And that's who you want have named the bill after.
That is correct. This lady came, she was raped as a young college student. And because of the DNA test and a rape kit, 7 years later, this person committed burglary and was arrested for burglary. Well, he could have been breaking in to perhaps rape another victim. But what he did, he was arrested for burglary in California, and they took his DNA, sent it to CODIS, and it matched. Not only did it match her, he was a serial rapist. He's now serving 135 years in prison. So the stories go on, just like the Tara Louise Baker cold case in Athens.
Right, in this state.
DNA solved that crime. But not only does DNA help prove guilt, it can prove innocence. There was a double homicide in Effingham County of a couple killed in a church. And a man went to prison and spent 25 years in prison, and he was convicted of that double homicide. The cold case unit that the House and the Senate passed just a few years ago went back and started looking at that cold case, and they found some hairs in the lady's hinges of her glasses. Those hairs didn't match the DNA of the man in prison, but it matched the other suspect.
So it exonerated him.
It exonerated him after 25 years in prison.
That's amazing. Where is your bill right now?
It's in rules in the House. I was just in the House rules this morning.
Passed out of Senate.
It's passed out of the Senate. It's gone to the House. It passed out of committee in the House. Now it's waiting to go to the floor in the House.
Okay.
21 people were on death row before DNA proved their innocence. Over 375 people as of 2020 have been exonerated through DNA evidence.
Okay.
Robert DuBose served 37 years for a murder he did not commit.
I can tell you're very passionate about it.
Very
so
passionate.
we're gonna keep up with this.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on talking about that. I want to get to your legislation too. Let's start with the bill to place tighter regulations on ketamine clinics. And for people who don't understand what they are, explain that first.
Well, they are clinics with basically very little guidelines around them. And ketamine is a very, very serious and dangerous drug. In fact, it's one of the rape date drugs that's being used on date rapes. It sort of goes along with the senators talking about it. It's used, like it should be, as an anesthesia. It puts you to sleep. And even the anesthesiologists, when they use it, always go and tell the recovery room nurses that they've used it. It's so dangerous. Well, now it's become popular, and one of the stars of Cheers died from it. And the more you use it, Matthew Perry, the more you use it, the more addictive it is. And all of a sudden, it's become a popular drug out in the community, and some clinics are starting, sort of like these meta spas, and you don't know what people are giving you, who's giving it to you, are they qualified, are there side effects. They are giving ketamine IV. It goes straight to your heart. And right now, there are no regulations on the amount that's given, how long you can be there, and you need to stay until you drive. So it's not a matter of trying to do away with them. There really isn't any proven proof yet that they help with PSTD. It may help, there's some indication, but they're going to use it. If you use it, you normally use it with therapy right away.
So it needs to be regulated. And you ended up with bipartisan support for your bill, and yet that first time it didn't pass.
Well, that's not unusual. Sometimes you have to go back and change things a little bit over about a bill. It was mainly over who could own them, and we have a lot of people in the legislature sometimes that are entrepreneurs, and It's not like an ice cream shop that you can, invest in an ice cream shop, and an out-of-state investor can come in, like with the housing problem that we're having of out-of-state big conglomerations. This is a medical drug, a dangerous medical drug, and it needs to stay in the medical realm of how we do things with it.
Yeah, so it passed out of the House, and so where is it now?
It's over in the Senate.
Okay.
There's still time. It's in Senate Health.
Right.
There's plenty of time for it to move, and we have an agreement with everybody on it going forward. Okay. And so I think you'll see it moving through the Senate pretty rapidly.
Okay.